All right, hi everybody. Thanks to Michael for that introduction, and thanks for everybody to coming to listen. Today, my groupmates and I will be sharing our research over the past 6 weeks, which all culminates into SCALE, semantic code analysis via learned embeddings. We'll address the challenging concept of code isomorphism and share our two approaches, dubbed SCALE-FT and SCALE-Clear, how they work, and the results they achieved. Now, what is isomorphism? Isomorphism is the preservation of structure between objects. For example, isomorphism in language would be maintaining the meaning of expressions despite the usage of different words. When this concept is applied to code isomorphism, the snippets of code are understood for their function. For example, if you take a look at the diagram on the right, you'll see two pieces of code with different structure, but the same meaning. Our two approaches to SCALE, semantic code analysis via learned embeddings, uses code isomorphism to generate embeddings relative to code function. We use isomorphism for this specific task of determining code semantic similarity due to the existence of so-called noise in the code, which are unimportant snippets and have no effect on the code's function. We aim to extract the important features, which are the underlying functions of the code, through this noise, which is achieved most efficiently through code isomorphism. We train our approaches on code isomorphism through natural language processing, or NLP, and the use of large language models, or LLM. Code snippets are fed through generative pre-trained models, GPTs, which generate embeddings, which are then used by our two approaches to determine code similarity. Code isomorphism is an important concept to tackle due to its many applications in downstream tasks as well, like code common alignment, code optimization, code classification, code obfuscation, and more. As an example, the diagram on the right is a potential way that code isomorphism could be applied for a code common alignment task.
Fine-tuning is a technique that allows pre-trained models to be used for different downstream tasks. In one approach to fine-tuning, full fine-tuning, the pre-trained model's weights remain trainable and a trainable linear head is added to the network. In another approach to fine-tuning, linear probing, the pre-trained model's weights are frozen and a trainable linear head is appended to the network. These two processes of fine-tuning can be seen in the diagram on the right. Contrastive learning is a technique that extracts information from data by comparing similar and dissimilar instances. It is used to extract important information from data in the form of vector embeddings. These embeddings can then be used to provide meaningful insights to other models in downstream tasks. One successful framework for contrastive learning is SymClear. As seen in the diagram on the right, SymClear compares the resultant latent states of two inputs after a forward pass through a model, ResNet, using a normalized temperature-scaled cross-entropy loss function. This loss function helps the models learn to differentiate between similar and dissimilar instances in the data. SymClear has achieved state-of-the-art performances on various tasks, demonstrating the effectiveness of contrastive learning.
Our goals can be succinctly summarized in 3 key objectives. 1, we hope to achieve high evaluation accuracy in our task of determining the similarity between two pieces of code. 2, we want to generate usable isomorphic embeddings through input code. 3, we want to test the effectiveness of fine-tuning compared to contrastive learning through our two approaches, SCALE-FT, which means SCALE fine-tuning, and SCALE-Clear, the SymClear contrastive learning framework. Our approach to tackling all 3 goals lies in embedding code snippets. Taking inspiration from past frameworks, we choose to use embeddings for a couple of reasons. For one, SymClear has shown incredible success in using embeddings for representation learning. Another benefit is the seamless transfer to downstream tasks when working with models. In order to apply the concept of embeddings to code isomorphism, we use 2 different approaches which both utilize large language models, or LLMs. Now Jason is going to explain our 2 approaches.
SCALE-FT, or fine-tune scale, formulates the problem of code isomorphism as a binary classification task, in which the model attempts to predict whether 2 given pieces of code are similar or dissimilar. In this approach, we use a pre-trained language model, of which the weights remain trainable, to generate embeddings from an initial pair of concatenated code snippets with a separator token in between. These embeddings are then fed into a classification head, a multi-layer perceptron, which uses the embeddings to predict semantic equivalence between the initial pair of snippets. With this forward process, the model is trained using wrap propagation and binary cross-entropy loss with logits. A simple visualization of this process can be seen on the right. SCALE-Clear, named after the self-supervised learning framework of SymClear, uses SymClear to accurately predict whether 2 code snippets are isomorphic in nature or not. In this framework, two code snippets are independently passed through a single pre-trained language model to produce a set of embeddings. These vectors are then mapped to a latent space by a projection head, which in our implementation is a small neural network similar to a residual block, which restricts the size of the embeddings in order to force the pre-trained language model to produce embeddings with the most critical information possible. This framework is then trained using normalized temperature scaled cross entropy loss. A simple visualization of this process can be seen on the right.
To measure the success of our implementations, we employ IBM's CodeNet dataset. This dataset has 14 million data points and contains coding problems with multiple submissions per problem in a wide variety of languages, ranging from C to Python to Java. The top right diagram depicts how we build our training dataset, selecting problems and submission IDs that are accepted Python submissions from the metadata. Then we extract the submissions based on these IDs from the actual dataset, check for any duplicates, and we're left with 490,000 data points. The bottom right figure depicts how we gather a test set and submissions from the Python 800 benchmark dataset, leaving us with 47,000 data points. Our evaluation metrics consists of accuracy, precision, recall, and F1 score. For training and testing process, a maximum sequence length of 1500 is utilized, meaning we remove all data points with lengths greater than 1500. In the training process for approach 1, we use a 1-to-1 positive sample to negative sample ratio. Given a randomly selected problem that acts as an anchor, the positive samples are randomly taken from the same row of our dataset, which are correct answers to the anchor coding problem. On the other hand, the negative samples are randomly taken from different rows, which contain correct answers to different coding problems. In the training process for approach 2, there are no explicit negatives. Instead, given a positive pair, the model will assume that the other two pairs in the batch are negative. In the testing process, we use a 1-to-3 split, meaning 1 positive sample per 3 negative samples. Preliminary testing with a 1-to-1 positive to negative ratio revealed a weakness in predicting negative samples, which is why we use this ratio. As you can see, our approaches consistently improve performance compared to the corresponding baseline. Specifically, you can see how Scale FT shows an improvement of over 60% in the accuracy of the Babbage model, and Scale Clear shows an improvement of around 30%. Notably, the accuracies of Scale FT on both Babbage and Ada are higher than the accuracies of GPT 3.5 Turbo and GPT-4, which are currently some of the most advanced state-of-the-art models. In addition, all GPT-3 versions use 175 billion parameters, while GPT-4 uses 1.7 trillion parameters. Despite this, the Scale FT approach with Babbage and Ada, which are GPT-3 models, outperform the GPT-4 models while having less parameters. Yeah.
Scale FT and Scale Clear achieve impressive accuracy in evaluating whether two code snippets are functionally equivalent or not. This efficacy presents promising progress towards the task of code isomorphism in the realm of NLP. Additionally, the insights derived from our exploration offer multiple avenues for future research and development. For instance, the embeddings generated by our models can be shown to capture the functional aspects of code snippets and can thus be utilized in various real-world applications. These embeddings could be applied to tasks such as code summarization, bug detection, and automated code generation in order to create more efficient and precise solutions. Several steps can be taken in order to further improve the performance of our models. Exploring larger datasets in CodeNet or creating a more diverse and comprehensive dataset could provide a broader perspective on the approach's capabilities and generalizability and help reduce bias and variance. Furthermore, due to computational limits, we were forced to make adjustments to training and testing processes. Exploring advanced optimization techniques would improve the scalability and computational efficiency of our models, accordingly refining their performance. And most importantly, we would like to engage in strategic collaboration with industry partners and open source communities. This engagement could yield invaluable practical insights, exposing us to authentic challenges that refine our research trajectory.
As previously mentioned, the task of code isomorphism can be used for many downstream tasks, such as code comment alignment, code optimization, and code classification. To go more in depth, here are some specifics for the downstream tasks of semantic code search and software migration. Semantic code search, which allows developers to search for code snippets based on their functionality, could be vastly improved through code isomorphism. Being able to compare the functions of code through their embeddings would make semantic code search tools more accurate and effective. Software migration, which is the migration of code between environments and languages, would be made smoother and easier with the use of code isomorphism. A semantic understanding of the code's function would help in creating suggestions for functional equivalents in a different language or environment. These downstream tasks are just a small glimpse into the potential of the applications of code isomorphism. Thank you all for listening to our presentation. We would like to thank our mentors, Avi and Michael, who were instrumental in our research process. We would also like to thank Blast AI as a whole for providing us with the opportunity to be here today and present to you all. And finally, we'd also like to thank our gracious families and listeners for their continued support and interest on our project. Thank you.